Okay, welcome everyone. Um, so welcome to today's session. We're gonna just go ahead and jump into things if that's all right with everyone. Like I was saying, today is the first part of a multi-part presentation series. I'm really going to focus on beginner is going to focus entirely on AI and ChatGPT. But I'm going to talk about some ways that you can incorporate other pieces of technology into your workflow. Um, if I go too advanced at any point, if you need to ask follow-up questions, if there are things that you're unclear about, please raise your hand, turn on your camera, um, holler out, and just get my attention some way. And I can stop, I can clarify, and we can continue forward. Sometimes when technical folks are giving information, and this is something that we live and breathe every single day, even some of the terms that I think are more simplistic may still be somewhat advanced, and I'm going to try and catch myself today as often as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me first. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to be focusing mostly on ChatGPT today. So prior to really just about a week ago, there were two main competitors in the space of large language models. We're going to talk about that, but basically AI chatbots. There was two competitors. There was Google Bard and there was ChatGPT. ChatGPT is run by a company called OpenAI. Google Bard never really got off the ground. So they have now rebranded as Gemini. Gemini just got released public facing about a week ago. And so I have not had much time to really dive into it. So I'm not going to touch on that since I don't have expertise in that area. I am going to focus on how we can use the tool ChatGPT for work that we're working on. So, a couple of topics we're going to cover today. What is artificial intelligence? How can we use AI in parent centers? What problems can AI pose? And as an AI advocate, I want to also make us aware of gaps it can create inside of our workflow and inside of our organizations so we can plan for those gaps. How can we use this? How can we help staff use AI? And then just a couple things to consider. So, artificial intelligence is the use of a computer system to simulate human mental processes, such as interpreting and generating language. And I like to think of AI as when you're texting on your cell phone and it kind of predicts what that next word is going to be. That's AI. When you're typing out an email and it says hit tab to complete your sentence, that's predictive AI. When you're on Canva and it says, hey, do you want me to design this for you with Canva Magic? So the flyer design program, that's generative AI. Predictive AI is when you can kind of follow a pattern of words and then say, hey, I think this is what you're going to say next. May not always be what you're looking for. Generative AI, which is what we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about, is when it is creating content. So you give it a prompt and it creates content for you. Okay. AI is not new. It's been around for a long time. Public facing AI. So as the consumer, you and me and F&D and PHP and we're peak, like we for the first time have access to it. One of my good buddies, he works in corporate HR for Amazon, and we are talking about ChatGPT and some other AI tools. And he's like, Amazon's had AI for 15 years now. It's like, yeah, but it's exciting for us. So, so we will talk about this and talk about the way that it's going to transform some of our workflow. So, ChatGPT, what is it? Let me stop here for 1 second and kind of gauge the audience with a raise of your reaction hand or your literal hand. Who here has used ChatGPT or knows about ChatGPT? Okay. So there's a bunch of us that have at least had exposure to it. And an article I recently read said that within the next 2 years, every single industry will have AI implemented in its workflow within the next 2 years. So I'm glad that we're jumping into this conversation early, and I'm glad that we're able to get ahead and we're not left in the dark as parent centers. So, so ChatGPT is a type of artificial intelligence program that's designed to understand and generate human-like text based on inputs. So what I say to it, that's called what I type in, that's referred to as a prompt. And the better your prompt, what you put in, the better you get out. I was thinking about this last night, and in terms of our Salesforce, CRMs, data systems, it's junk in, junk out. That's rule period. However, with ChatGPT, you can put some junky stuff in and still get a fairly good response out. My goal is to teach y'all how to put excellent prompts in to get an even better response out. That's my goal. Um, think of ChatGPT, it learns from vast databases of text and internet articles and books and articles and videos and audio files. Think of ChatGPT as a screenshot of almost the entire internet. So when we are um when we are asking for information, we're going to talk about some bias at some point during this session. And so, since it's learning from the entire internet, there's going to be some bias depending on the content that's out on the internet. And so, I want us to be aware information may not always be accurate. That's why, as us, as humans, as experts in the subject matter of special education, medical and mental health, for those of us who have um, F2Fs as well, that is our focus and our point is we are the subject matter experts. So when I talk about this and I show you guys how to produce products, presentations, respond to emails, individualized assistance, like all of those key words and functions of a parent center, when I show you how to use this tool for that, think of it as a first draft, not to cut and paste, but to give you something to work off of. So that is the way that I view it. That's the way that I work with my team. So here are some examples of, give me 1 second. Okay. So here are some examples of artificial intelligence. Chatbots, that's ChatGPT. Smart assistants, that's Alexa, cancel. She's right over here next to me. Google Home, those are smart assistants. E-payment, I use my cell phone to pay for everything. So I've got Samsung Pay, I've got Google Pay. Those are e-payments. Search algorithms, Google, that's artificial intelligence. Amazon, when it tells you the things you should buy, artificial intelligence. Media streaming, Netflix, it knows I want to watch another real crime documentary. Like it knows my life. Smart cars, Tesla, that's the best example on the model right now, or on the market right now. although Ford is quickly catching up. Navigation apps. So Google actually tried to navigate me to Chipotle the other day, unprompted because of how often I go. So navigation apps are quickly catching up. Facial recognition. So on our cell phones, Apple does the best job at facial recognition. That again is AI. Facebook, Instagram, when it auto tags or auto recommends tags on your images, that is AI. Text editors. So again, you start typing something out on Microsoft Office or Google, and it says hit tab to finish your sentence. AI. Social media feeds, again, that goes back to that algorithm. I talk about all these things to say that your exposure to AI is not new. Your interaction with AI does not begin today. You've been interacting with it. We just haven't been as aware of the different types of AI that we have been slowly being exposed to. So that is kind of some of those examples. So, brief on emerging role of AI in the nonprofit sector. So one of the ways that nonprofits as a whole are looking to use AI is in the fundraising space and donor engagement. So there's a whole bunch of donor engagement platforms right now that are integrating AI-driven analytics. You can personalize messages to donors. So FND, we are currently inside of a capital campaign. We purchased a building. We are now in a capital campaign for funds for renovation. I used AI, ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you in just a moment. I used it to generate a letter, and it was a donor solicitation letter. The prompt I put in there was took me all of 30-45 seconds to write. And then the letter it turned back, it's ready to go. I made maybe 5-10 minutes of edits onto it. That letter probably would have taken me 2 or 3 hours to write. Then I would have had several colleagues proof it, then taken their feedback back and made additional modifications before I was ready to send it to our CEO. So now I'm able to create that letter. I can then tell it, based on this letter, create text that I can use to create marketing materials. So then it will create that text. I can tell it now create social media posts that will go with this text. Then I can take that text and put it into Canva, which is the program I use to generate this presentation. So there's a lot of different things you can do around that. Operational efficiency. You can create automations of administrative tasks, freeing up some time for mission critical work. What are some examples of that? Um, there's a program called Zapier where you can connect it to your email, you can connect it to ChatGPT, and you can set up workflow triggers. So meaning when I get an email that has the subject line of parent support, I can automatically have that email a response by a preset number of responses. I can then send it out to um, have that email forwarded to one of my parent support coordinators or one of my project directors. Um, I can also send it in a form to say, hey, give me some more information about your case so I can properly distribute this out. So we've created those things for our general email addresses so that we don't have to monitor those constantly. And that when a parent fills out that form that's automatically sent back to them, then we have all of their information. We don't have to call and do a manual intake. And then Salesforce automatically starts up a case for one of my parent trainers. So we cut several steps out of that process using automation. That's super high end, it's super advanced. But I'm just using some examples of what are some of the roles inside the nonprofit sector, and then data-driven decision making. So leveraging big data, AI analytics. There's a number of different AI tools that are out on the market to pop your information into. Salesforce for Nonprofit actually this month is releasing Einstein, their AI tool, and you will be able to tell Einstein, create a narrative report. So we've got those continuation reports coming up. I'm going to keep talking about those throughout this presentation. But create a narrative report based on the data I have in Salesforce over the last 12 months. And then you can even say, this is for a report to my funders, or this is a report to my board of directors. So we're able to take that data, create narratives. We can ask it for insights. We can ask it for custom reports. Like, this is the AI that companies are building into every sector we're encountering. So here are some practical examples of the uses of AI in, that should say, parent centers, not EF bells. So presentation development. Now, I often will ask when I'm presenting on this, and this is, I want some folks to answer, unmute yourself, but how long does it take you guys to create a presentation from scratch, period? Just raise your hands, open your mic, kind of how long?
Week.
A week of dedicated time, correct?
Right, right.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
About
A day.
42 hours.
About how much?
About 42 hours, 2 to 3 days.
Okay. And again, that's dedicated time.
Yes, dedicated time.
Yep. I would love to have 42 hours of dedicated time.
Yeah, I would say about 8 hours for me.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
I would say about a week. It depends on how much research needs to go into it. Less research, you probably get it done in like 2 or 3 days. A lot of research, probably about a week.
And
So
I want to clarify that that's just a longer presentation with all the bells and whistles, right? That's like when you're making workbooks and all of the things that go along with it. But like a simpler presentation, it's a little bit, I could do it in 8 hours, but like the bells and whistles, like the whole package, a good 3 day dedicated 3 days.
I would say for me, and I've been doing content development for upwards of about 10 to 15 years now. And I would say for me, it takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to create a good, solid presentation because I don't have that dedicated time. I'm getting interrupted. I'm getting emails. I'm getting Slack messages. I'm getting phone calls. I'm getting that, hey, do you have a minute? That's my least favorite phrase in existence. No, I have no minutes. Um, so the so it takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to get that done. Um, what what we have done at FND is we've decided that once a quarter, we're going to pull together a group of folks that we're referring to as our development team. And your development team can really just be people who are excited about developing this material, maybe some creatives, maybe some content specific folks. And there was about three of us working together. This was actually the past 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. And we met together in a centralized location. It was at Embassy Suites. And we turned off Slack. We just worked together. Um, and using ChatGPT, we got 7 presentations developed over actually a day and a half. And we had 2 meetings in the middle of that time. So the so what we did is we created a skeleton, and I'm happy to send this out to everyone. We created a skeleton inside of Excel where we have the presentation title, the developer, the reviewer, and the editor. So once we developed these presentations in this day and a half, We then had one another review them, and then we had a third party edit for content. And all of this took place in a day and a half for all 7 of the presentations. We then have the presentation objectives. Then we had the slide title, slide content, and speaker notes. All of that was filled out. And now what was left is to design. So the design of our presentations, we use the same guy on Fiverr, and it takes him, we pay $20 a presentation. He's got our design style, he's got our branding kit, and my staff doesn't have to spend their time working on it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do some of that, and we're going to have some examples. But I just want to kind of emphasize how robust this tool is going to be. Email assistance. So email assistance, when we get an email in from a parent, most of our staff is now running that email through ChatGPT with a very specific prompt. So the prompt is what you put into ChatGPT. And we will say, we have to first tell ChatGPT what it is. So ChatGPT can be anything in the world. So you tell it what it is, who you are, and then what you want from it. So it's 3 core concepts: who it is, who you are, what you want from it. So you are an expert in special education and family advocacy. I am Joe LaBelle with Family Network on Disabilities, the statewide parent training information center for Florida, funded by OSEP. We support families who have kids with disabilities. Here is an email from a parent that I received, and I want you to respond to this email and include several of the bullet points that I have provided. So I'm still going to provide bullet points. I'm going to give my thoughts just in a couple quick bullets. And then ChatGPT will actually take those thoughts that I have in the bullet points and create a full response to that email. So an email that my staff may have spent 45 minutes writing, 30 minutes writing. I know we love to think that we're super quick with our emails, but I'm going and I'm looking for the same resource that I use every time, but I've got to go and find it on the SIPR website or in the OSEP website, so on and so forth. ChatGPT can grab those resources for you, draft that email, then you spend 5 minutes editing it, and then send it off. The more advanced course, I'll show you guys how to do some automations to where ChatGPT can draft a response straight from your email. That's super advanced. Won't talk about that just yet. My staff isn't doing that just yet. Policy development. So policy development is something, and I'll show you again how to do that in ChatGPT. But you need to draft a new HR policy around remote work. You need to draft a new policy around maternity and paternity leave. You need to draft a new policy around X, Y, or Z. Again, this is a really great place. You are an HR professional. So the prompt that you're giving it, you're an HR professional that specializes in consulting with nonprofits. We are a nonprofit with 40 to 50 staff members. I want you to develop a policy that is inclusive for maternity and paternity leave, that provides X amount of weeks, and ensure that there's language that mothers have to use part-time, partial, or short-term disability as part of this, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I'll give some examples there as well. And then now you can generate images with ChatGPT. Soon you'll be able to generate videos with ChatGPT. It'll be basic. But then video generation, we use Synthesia, and I'm going to show you an example of that. So let's see how this all works. Okay, so for anyone that has not seen this is ChatGPT. My first time going to ChatGPT, I actually thought I was in the wrong place because it looks so basic. So it is simply chat.openai.com. And I've got the link inside my presentation that I'll send out. So first and foremost, you will see down here at the bottom that I am part of FND. So there's a Teams account. It's important that we are using Teams accounts if possible, so that all of us, you don't lose information. So when you have multiple staff members, maybe you have 4 accounts, 3 accounts, 2 accounts in your organization that they're paying for, but they're individual accounts. They're not a team account. You want to make sure that you're going to be able to retain those searches, that you're going to be able to retain that information if possible. Teams accounts will help account for that. The biggest thing, though, with a team account, and I want to be super clear about this, is that with a team account, ChatGPT does not, I will say it again, does not learn from what you put in there. So that's been a huge concern of ours, that ChatGPT regular accounts, even the pro accounts that you pay for, will learn from what you put into it. Teams accounts do not do that. So when it comes time for grant writing, we're going to be using ChatGPT. But when which is the same concept as using a grant writer. But when I put in our grant activities, goals, language, ChatGPT won't learn from it. So it won't provide that same type of response to another parent center or another organization writing against us or writing similar content. The other thing that it's not going to do is it's not going to learn if your staff forgets and they put personal information into it. Say they're copying and pasting an email and they forget to take the name of the parent out. ChatGPT is not going to learn from that information. It's going to keep it private. Same if you guys have copyright information. It's not going to learn from your copyrighted information. So I just wanted to be super clear about that with everyone. So going back here, so I am going to go to, let me see. Okay, so this is what I ended up writing for our Part C providers. We're developing some content for them. And for the prompt, so what I told ChatGPT, I said, you are an expert in product development and early intervention services. You are working as a consultant for early steps, helping support family resource specialists role under the Florida Department of Health. You are training parents on early steps processes and creating 7 module presentations. Create a presentation with 15 slides on IDEA special education, specifically Part C of IDEA early intervention. This should be developed to present to families. The presentation should have a title slide, multiple bullet points of slide content, and speaker notes on the next line. So what did I do? I told it who it was, who we are, and what I wanted. That's all you have to remember. So then it popped out, intro to IDEA, bullet points, speaker notes, bullet points. So a pretty consistent format, right? And then it gave me 15 slides. Cool. Then I told it to rewrite it and have 3 or more paragraphs for the speaker notes, because this is an interactive conversation you're having with it. So then it went back and added a whole bunch to the speaker notes. Then it got lazy. And this is something I was just talking to a consultant we work with on AI. And this version of ChatGPT is getting a little bit lazier, where you have to tell it, like, keep going, finish what I asked you to do, expand on this. And that's okay. They're fixing that right now. OpenAI is the company. But I told it keep going, so it continued. And then I told it again, continue until the last slide. It was getting a little testy, but eventually did provide me everything that I was looking for, and it was great. You can see that what type of slide, then I asked it, what type of slide would you use to help round out this presentation? And it gave me some ideas. Because if I'm not necessarily liking everything that it's giving me in terms of content, I can ask it questions like a real person. Because again, I told it it was a consultant focused on early intervention. So when I'm asking it questions, it's going to reply like a consultant, which is really cool. You're creating a person inside of this, an interactive experience inside of this AI. And then I said, based on this, based on all of this information, create 3 slide objectives for this presentation. And then it provided me with slide objectives or with presentation objectives. And so I'm going to pause my sharing for a second. I'm going to open up my Google Drive and show you guys what this actually looks like. So this is what it actually looks like in terms of the editors. So the lead developer, reviewer, editor, objectives, module description, slide content, and then speaker notes. We focus a lot less in FND on the slide content. So adult learning style focuses less on words and more on images, and then the vocal expression. So we have a lot more of an emphasis on the speaker notes itself to help our staff study. So then I take this and I send it off to the person I'm working with Fiverr, and they develop it out. That's the presentation aspect. The same kind of concept and work is how we would develop out policies or, again, reply back to parent emails. Now, I was speaking to a parent center recently in Region C, and that parent center was asking for policies around ChatGPT and how to use it. And their board wanted to have some really restrictive policies. And so we worked together using ChatGPT to actually create policies for ChatGPT and AI. And it worked out beautifully. It was mostly focused on staff empowerment and helping staff navigate ethical uses of AI and ensuring that everyone's aligned on how to use it. So I'm going to, so let me show you the individual assistants, then the custom GPTs, and then I'll go to the videos. So individual assistants, I'm going to go to a new chat. Give me an example of a type of phone call that y'all would receive. Or email.
A lot about behavior. We get a lot of things of behavior in the classroom, getting expelled, getting suspended. Behavior is a big one.
Okay, cool. You are an expert in early childhood behavior, period. You are also an expert working as a consultant in parent advocacy, period. We are Family Network on Disabilities, the statewide parent training information center funded by below is an example of an email, not example, email I received from a parent, period. In quotation marks below that are my thoughts, period. I would like you to reply to this email in a sensitive and compassionate way while providing support and information. Hi, comma, my name is Kathy. My son was just expelled for his behavior that I believe is linked to his disability, period. I don't know what to do or who to turn to, period. The school won't communicate with me and they're threatening to Baker Act him, period. Please provide me with any information, comma, can someone call me, question mark. I don't know what to do, period. Does that sound somewhat realistic? This part?
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Yeah, okay. It's almost as if I know the work.
Except Baker Act is very specific to Florida.
Oh, for sure. Sorry. So
It's okay.
Baker Act is it's a 24 to 72 hour mental health hold. Almost every state in the United States has a type of mental health hold, but Baker Act is what we use here in Florida.
In
So
California, it's 5150.
perfect. So involuntary mental health hold. We also have the Marchman Act, which is substance abuse hold. So I forget that because I very rarely mention Baker Act in a national environment. So I told ChatGPT I was going to put my thoughts inside of quotations. So the parent needs to be informed about manifestation determination meetings, period. The parent should contact the family support specialist inside of their district or the special education director in their district to help step in, period. We are happy to help facilitate conversation with the district since this parent is in crisis, period. Okay, let's see what it says. It is fast today. Okay.
Subject: Support and guidance for your son's educational rights. Dear Kathy, I hope this message finds you in good spirits despite the challenging circumstances you are currently facing. My name is your name, and I am with the Family Network on Disabilities in Florida. I understand from your email that you are going through a difficult time following your son's expulsion from school due to behavior you believe is related to his disability. I want to extend my deepest empathy for what must be a very distressing situation for both you and your son. First and foremost, please know that you are not alone in navigating this. It's important to understand that students with disabilities have specific rights under federal laws like the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. One key provision is the requirement for schools to conduct a manifestation determination review, MDR, when considering disciplinary actions for behaviors that may be linked to a student's disability. This process is designed to ascertain if the behavior in question was a manifestation of the student's disability. If it is determined to be so, the school must work on providing appropriate supports and modifications to address these behaviors, rather than resorting to disciplinary actions like expulsion. Given the urgency and complexity of your situation, I strongly recommend reaching out to the family support specialist within your district, or directly to the special education director. They are there to support families like yours and can provide guidance specific to your son's needs and rights. If you encounter any difficulties in initiating this conversation, or if you feel like your concerns are not being adequately addressed, please do not hesitate to get back in touch with us. Our team is here to help facilitate communication with the district and ensure that your son receives the support and fair treatment he deserves. In the meantime, I would like to offer to arrange a call with you to discuss your situation in more detail and explore how we can best support you and your son during this challenging time. Please let me know a time that works best for you, and we can set something up at your earliest convenience. Remember, Kathy, advocating for your child's rights and needs is a sign of your strength and dedication as a parent. You are taking important steps to ensure his well-being and educational success, and we are here to support you every step of the way. Warm regards, your name, your position, Family Network on Disabilities.
Would you guys use that?
I would change it to some options rather than recommendations.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
of
also
course.
take away the word law and maybe change it with the mandate or their rights under IDEA. But there, yeah, it's a good, I think it's a really good letter that could use a little bit of adjusting, but it's a good starting point.
Absolutely. And that was created and drafted in under 60 seconds.
Mhm.
And for our team members, and especially staff, as they're learning the different facets of IDEA, or staff that have been around, veterans for decades, a tool like this where we're able to respond in real time. I know one of my biggest weaknesses is when I look at an email that I want to get to and is of utmost importance and I want to respond really well to it, oftentimes it gets pushed back because I want to draft something really good and provide the best response possible. However, that's not going to happen with the limited time I have this afternoon. But if I've got 15 minutes, which that would have taken me longer than 15 minutes to write that email, I can create that, edit that, so make your recommendations and suggestions. I think that was Susan, or Nicole. Then to make those recommendations, because again, we're the experts. So it's providing us the first draft. We take that, edit it, and send it out. I just got back to that parent in a really reasonable timeline with some great options and helping them understand you're not in it alone. And here are some ways to help in this moment. Can you ask, so parents reaching out asked if we can share some of the policies around AI. Yeah, definitely. I can get with Michelle about that. So let me pull up my AI videos program. And then I do want to leave some time for question answers. So I'm going to go through the video a little bit quicker. I'm just logging in right now. Okay. So Synthesia is the AI video tool, the platform that we use at FND. So we have full-length videos, full-length webinars on all different topics. One of the really cool things about Synthesia is you simply drop the text into effective parent conferences. So you drop the text into this, and then let me see. It wants me open an editor. So you drop the text in, and then this is what it actually says. So this is the actual information that it provides. There are tons of different avatars that you can use that are real people and realistic images. So I'll go to my avatar library, and you can see that I have my own avatar, which I love. So come on.
Hello. This is a preview of what your video will look like. Click the Create button to get started.
And then I also have my own voice, like my actual voice goes into my avatar, which is pretty cool. That's a premium function. We've got a couple other avatars for some of our staff. But one of the things I love about Synthesia is they're real people as the avatars. It's not cartoony. They also represent every racial and ethnic background you can imagine. There's religious representation. There are people of different walks of life. There are different accents. And then now you can automatically translate the English text that we saw in that last video. You can automatically translate that into multiple languages, and then it can speak upwards of 20 different languages, which is really, really cool. So with Spanish, for example, that's most of what we have. Casi todos nosotros aquí en FND podremos hablar español, pero we always put Spanish language translations through our native speaking staff so that they're able to help determine, hey, how's this translation overall? So that's still a recommendation that I make is if you don't have staff that speak that language, but maybe you have a really active parent that you've supported or a volunteer or a board member, just really get that language checked. But this is an amazing tool to be able to make that happen. Again, we've probably got 20-ish of our presentations fully developed, and you simply upload the PowerPoint and then type in what you want it to say. Fun hack, the way that we did this so quickly is we downloaded a bunch of our webinars from Facebook Live and that were saved on our Facebook page. We sent it and got it transcribed. And then we took that transcription and just copy and pasted and fixed all the ums and silences and kind of awkward speech. So we kind of streamlined the process a little bit faster. So I'm going to go back to the Canva presentation. Okay, what problems can this pose? Data privacy and security. So again, I said earlier, please make sure as your staff is using ChatGPT, even Canva has AI features, Google now Gemini, make sure that you're scraping personal data. What does that mean? That means we're taking out names of parents, names of kids, names of coworkers, we're taking out identifiable information. Even if you have a ChatGPT team account where they do not learn from your data, we still best practice scrape information. Bias and fairness. So one of the examples that I gave earlier is, or that I will often give, I should say, is I had mentioned earlier how it can create images. And on our last call, I talked about how when the ChatGPT first started creating images, it's gotten a lot better. But when it first started creating images, I asked it for an image of a family at a educational meeting at their school. It gave me a white family with a heterosexual mother and father and a small child. And it was bright, it was beautiful, it was a colorful environment. Cool. That's what families look like that. I asked it to regenerate it. It kept giving me white families with heterosexual parents in beautiful environments. Okay. Then I asked it, give me an image of an African American Black family. And it went from a really bright environment and beautiful school to kind of a grungy environment and brick walls. And it was darker outside. And the family wasn't dressed as nicely as that cute little white family. And it was learning from biases that are on the internet. Because again, it's a screenshot of the entirety of the internet. And what's on the internet? Racism and bias and really horrible things about a lot of community members. I have yet to be able to get, just prompting, I have yet to be able to get a family that is not heterosexual. You have to really ask it for a same-sex couple or for just a representation of a dad. So there's lots of different bias that we have inside of these programs because it's learning from the bias out in the internet. So I just wanted to bring that up. You can easily counteract that bias by giving explicit instructions. So those are things to think about. Dependency and skill gap. So does your staff forget how to do their job and how to create material, how to work without GPT? That's a real fear. So what we're doing is we're providing consistent check-ins, professional development, all these different types of core capacity building, even though we're having this new tool that's helping quite a bit. And then resource allocation. We need to start building up our budgets around technology, AI, all of these areas. I talked about these things. Okay, so how can centers get started? Truly, the very first thing I would do is open up a Teams account. You can open up a Teams account with one account. You don't have to, there's no minimum. It's $25 a month. I would find someone in your organization that's truly excited about this. I would ask them for their help in trying out this platform to see what it can do. I would develop a list of prompts. So those things, who is it? Who are you? What do you want from it? I would create a list of prompts that team members can pull from, maybe on like a shared document in your Google Drive or your SharePoint. Provide clear guidelines for your staff on what they can use this for. So if you're saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you using this for individualized assistance, cool. Let your staff know because they're going to do it. Like staff are going to do the things unless they're told not to, especially when this is so new and every single company that you're working with is going to be introducing these new AI components. So just be clear and transparent with staff about what you do and do not want this used for. Talk to your staff about scrubbing personal information and then provide staff training. So I focus, my consulting focuses more on like organizational structure. I focus on larger groups. Marcus McGee is a consultant. He runs the AI consulting lab. I actually use him for my monthly staff trainings for FND, and he's super reasonably priced. He's a very, very smart guy. He gets into the nitty gritty. He goes down into like, how do we like work this prompt to get exactly what you need? How do we work with your individual staff members or do staff calls? He's been great for our team. So I wanted to put his information out there for y'all to be able to see. And then here's a couple of different ways that we can help staff along the way. Focusing on ethical use, starting a mentorship program, and a mentorship can be 2 people. And then developing from there. Have some AI office hours, implement a pilot project with maybe 3 or 4 people. Use case demonstration. So I did that case in front of us with that email and responding. So have some have some examples there. Create a supportive learning environment and then tailor trainings and programs to your staff specifically. So this is that's what I've got for y'all. We've got a handful of minutes left, and I know there was so much information. I would love to field some questions from the group.
I don't have any questions, but I would want to say this was very good. Almost all of my line staff is here today. They're up and down the room. I had them all come to the first one so that they could decide if they want to stay in the beginning or move on to the advanced. I didn't want to make that decision for them. So this was very helpful. They're all here today. And we'll continue either some will continue in the beginning or some will be in the advanced. So, but this
Awesome.
was very helpful.
Thank you.
Joe, I don't have a question either, but I want to echo that. But I also want to say that I have thought that I was doing a pretty good job with AI and thought that I might be a little beyond, beginner. But you just showed me more new things that I am over here. I wanted to go to chat and create an image of a mind blown person. So Thank you. It was excellent.
Thanks. I do want to see, I see a couple of folks dropping here and there as we're getting to time. I do want to say before I call in Jen, the intermediate and the advanced kind of sessions, send staff. And we're going to be going over it in a way that's going to hopefully still make sense or at least plant seeds. Like this is something we can work towards. This is an idea. What I say about AI constantly is the limitations of AI are based on your own creativity. So if you're coming to the intermediate or advanced sessions and you get exposed to something that maybe you implement a year from now, cool. But you've got those seeds planted. So just food for thought. Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks. Before I ask my question, I am curious about the question Matthew put in the chat, so I'll let you answer that one first because I was curious about that one.
You had mentioned something about Teams account. Does that mean that Microsoft? Nope. It's so Teams account is just it's a team. So it's just it's an organizational account for ChatGPT so that you can invite people to it, you can remove people, and then it does not learn from the information any of your team members are putting in, as opposed to an individual account, which you're just kind of signing up one by one. Teams accounts did not exist when I had my first presentation with you guys a couple weeks ago. So it is evolving so rapidly that I'm going to have new information the next time.
So my question, because I've been trying to research this, have you found an AI service that is good for translation? Just
So
like our own like
translation,
publications and stuff.
ChatGPT. It will.
Okay.
So ChatGPT is one of the better translators I have found,
Okay.
bar none. And to the point where our native Spanish speaking staff who were educators and journalists in Mexico, Colombia, Bolivia, they can't tell that it was translated. It looks like written by a professional. So of course, run it by a native Spanish speaker or native language speaker. But ChatGPT is what I would say.
And I would agree with that because we use that as well. And when we've done Google and things in the past, all of our Spanish speakers that grow over it and review it, there's so much mistakes that say take so much time. And then reviewing it can take less than 5 minutes. It's that good.
Yeah.
And we do it for
Oh.
Vietnamese, which is a really hard one to translate.
One of our staff members, her name is Soren. She's from Aruba. They speak Papiamento, and ChatGPT was able to write out language in Papiamento, which is only spoken by 2,000 people. So super wild. Any other questions that I can help field, provide? You guys have been awesome.
No, Joe, you have been awesome. I'm like, this is so good. So good. And so much, we this is a trajectory, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a journey together.
Absolutely.
We had our new directors, which I saw many of you earlier. It's been a great TAC day, but it is a journey and it's a process for all of us. And I think that as we look through this series and also having Joe at our gathering, which we're mapping out in June in Boise, will also kind of just keep us spending several of the next few months together to kind of keep elevating and moving these forward in wherever capacity and meeting people where they're at, right? Wherever you are at and kind of stuff. So this is exciting for our network, for our region, and for our families. So
Awesome. Well, thank you all, and I will see you in the next presentation. If you have any questions beforehand, please feel free to shoot those questions over to Michelle. She can help relay them, or whoever your TAC contact is, and they'll be able to relay them back and we can clarify those. Thanks, you guys.
awesome. Thank you, Joe.